Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of the Rundown. My name is Mike Porsky. I'll be your host for the remainder of the program here with you today, but I do not do this show by myself.
No, sir, you do not. I will be your co-host, your co-pilot, your assistant for the day. My name is Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras.
The Sierras. It sounds like a pretty place.
It is a very pretty place. It is very, very pretty. And once you hit the Nevada side, then you're in somewhat in America, although it's becoming more and more Californicated there.
Yes, many places. As you try to leave, we've talked about this many times. As soon as you get outside those liberal cities, they get a little too big. They try and spread that stuff around, and it's our duty to keep that from happening.
Hey, you can run, but you can't hide. You're gonna have to fight sooner or later. You don't fight here, you're gonna have to fight there.
Exactly right. It's exactly how it works. Craig, I took a few phone calls, few messages, few chats, few MySpace notes that we failed to do something yesterday. Mostly me. We failed to mention our sponsors and our giveaway coming up on Freedback Friday.
Freedback Friday.
Freedback Friday. Let me hear you say it. Freedback Friday.
Freedback Friday.
There we go. Just like a good ball game. There we go. Our good friends at Gorilla Machining, where the upper receiver comes from, and our good friends at Grid Defense, where the 80% lower piece of aluminum comes from. This will be going out, maybe sometimes with the shirt, sometimes without it. It depends on what our friends provide us. But at a minimum, whoever wins the Freedback Friday contest, commenting contest, I guess, is what we were doing, unless we change our minds between now and then, is going to get this fancy upper and receiver from, again, our good friends over at, I want to make sure I point to it in the right direction, Gorilla over there. So from Gorilla Machining and Grid Defense. So check them out. The links are there somewhere. Craig, can't the good folks in the viewer land get to the links?
Oh, yeah, the links are right there in the description to the video. So you'll see them. It's the first thing we say is, hey, please support our sponsors or visit our sponsors. So make sure you guys hit them up.
We just have to make sure we mention the sponsors. We talk about the sponsors. We just forgot to mention them. So
yes.
Our bad, my bad, my bad. Craig, yesterday.
Bad.
What's that?
You are bad.
Well, it's one of those things. It's just, when you live in Florida, you have to do a certain amount of bad to stay here. It's just a Florida thing.
I think it is part of the citizenship requirements there.
Well, listen, you'd be like, I really don't want to do that. And they're like, well, you have to, or you have to leave. And you're like, oh, okay. All right. So throw an alligator through a Wendy's drive-through window. Got it. Okay. All right. Well, if that's what I got to do.
I think that qualifies.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the Florida.
The first time you do it. The second time, it's just normal.
Oh, yeah. At that point, they're like, what are you doing? That's just, it's something going on with you and the gator. I don't know what's going on there. So
see, in California, it's much easier to be bad. All you have to do is really call someone by the wrong pronoun.
Oh, I do. I don't know what you do, Craig. I'm on the tweeters. I know you are as well. Have you put your preferred pronouns next to your Twitter handle?
No, because if I put my preferred pronouns, I'll probably wind up getting banned.
I have put mine. It's been a couple months now. Mine have been beep bop boop. From what Gina Carano did, the former Mandalorian actress. So to follow her, I put beep bop boop. That sounded pretty good to me, so I liked it. And listen, you ever see her?
You could do a lot worse, Mike. You could do a lot worse.
Exactly. Craig, we skipped a story yesterday. We got towards the end of the time because we had too much bantering going on, which is probably going to happen again today. So we skipped a story. Let's take a look here at the CDC has asked the teachers union for school reopening language. Now, this is according to the teachers union. When you ask the CDC, they're kind of like, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. So in order for schools to reopen again, the CDC, one of the things that many of the governors, the current presidential administration said was the CDC had to be clear about it and had to be clear about the risk. Well, I guess when you talk to this teachers union, and I think it's actually called Americans for Teachers, something like that.
American
AFT,
Federation of Teachers.
American Federation of Teachers. There we go. They say, oh no, the CDC came to us. And when you talk to the CDC, they say, oh no, these people at the union have been bugging the crap out of us to include their wording. So it it's more of this administration getting caught in their own retelling of the facts. Shall we say?
I am sure that the administration, when I say the administration, I mean someone in the Biden White House went to the teachers unions to ask them for the language, and then they contacted the CDC. But we know that pretty much this was driven by the Biden administration because they're scared of the teachers unions, as are many, 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 many Democrats. In the end, the worst part about this is you can read the language, and it's literally straight out of the teachers unions talking points. So that's where they got the language from. So folks, once again, and by the way, the guy leading the whole pandemic response is a guy who's a political activist. He just knows nothing about medicine or about coronavirus. We've already talked about him on the show. But in the end, we all know that this is all about politics, and that's really the only sciences that they're following is political science.
Political science. That's it, Craig. Exactly right. Yeah, you're right. The talking points in here are straight out of the teacher's handbook. There, it says stuff like bringing people back with the pandemic still out there will imperil the teachers. Well, I don't think they even mention the students.
I can tell you that most of the teachers that we deal with, and I sit on a school board and I talk with other school board members, most of the rank and file teachers do not feel this way. That doesn't mean that there aren't teachers that are concerned, but most of them do not feel that this is consistent with what they believe. No,
absolutely not. And again, like we've talked about before, it's a very small minority of the union, a small number of the union that tries to represent the entire union. Everybody's there just to keep their job and pay their dues. Yet you have these other 10-20% yokels in there that are trying to make it sound like everybody's in lockstep, and that's not the case at all. You're absolutely correct on that, Craig.
Exactamundo.
Speaking of lockstep, let's move ourselves down to Texas. Now, Craig, I want to make sure I point out ahead of time that Texas. You'll hear all sorts of great stuff coming out of their legislative body this year. Next year, you'll hear nothing because Texas only meets every other year for the legislative cycle. So next year, you will not hear anything out of them. So it seems like we've been getting a lot fast and furious lately. So what we got going on down there is the governor, Governor Abbott, had a voter reform bill going forward, and this is one that's been incredibly popular with Republicans. We know that Democrats want to say it's racist, and it's not. These are provisions that we've looked at before, where it actually increases the amount of absentee time you have to get your ballot in. It does strengthen the identification requirement for mail-in ballots. Little things like that, Craig. I don't know if you've taken a look at this law or not.
I have had a chance to take a look at it, and it's very much in line with what they did in Georgia. And it literally what it did, there were provisions that were put in place because of COVID that people want to see stay. And so what they did was they actually codified it in law. And, because it's not like, a free-for-all in terms of voting, and because it does put in place a few things in order to make sure that you protect the integrity of the vote. Yeah. Well, we know Democrats don't want integrity of the vote. They want it to be willy-nilly. They figure they want to make it as easy as possible for them to cheat. So
exactly right. So
and plus because Republicans proposed it, it's got to be racist. Yeah.
This was about to come to a floor vote there in the Texas legislature, and it was very well expected to pass because of the number of votes. So the Republicans on board with this. Well, the Democrats didn't like it, so they staged a walkout. So they walked out. They did not have enough people for a quorum. Therefore, they could not take the vote. Well, the governor's got a brilliant plan, I think, for dealing with them.
Oh, yeah.
You want to walk out of work? You don't get paid for work.
There you go. You don't get paid that day. Sorry, you're just not. And by the way, every day that you're not there, you don't get paid. Every day that you decide you're not going to be there, you're going to lose your money. Period. That includes your pay and your per diem.
There you go, and that's the way it should be done. If you think Democrats would be familiar with the pay-to-play scandal, so why wouldn't they just
you don't want to play it, you don't get paid.
Exactly right, and that's exactly what's going on in Texas. Good on you, Gov. Maybe we'll start calling him Captain Texas. I don't know. He's got a long way to go, though.
I don't know. He's got to work on He's got to get rid of that whole support for red flag laws thing.
He does.
He's got to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Then we can talk.
Speaking of the captains of state, let's jump down to Florida. You know what? Used to be a Florida man story was about the alligator guy, throwing that alligator through the window. Now it's about Captain Florida himself, Ron DeSantis. So he has set forth some guidelines, some laws that have been passed here in Florida. That as of I don't recall if it's June 1st, July 1st. I think it's July 1st off the top of my head. That you cannot ask somebody. It doesn't matter if you're a business, a government, if it's anybody that's providing any service whatsoever, cannot ask someone if they have been vaccinated. Now, you know what? Thinking about it, I do believe it's July 1st, and what he did was executive order it into action until then. So it's in force now via executive action. It'll be in force on the books as of July 1st. Well, this whole vaccination thing, Craig, has caused a little consternation there at the cruise line.
Yes, it has. In fact, they're very, very frustrated because, see, they want to be able to require vaccination passports, and they're not going to be able to do it. And Florida is a huge, I mean, you cannot underestimate or overestimate how big Florida is for the cruise industry. And so for them to go head to head with Governor DeSantis, they're going to have a real hard time. I'm glad that they are not. I'm glad that he's not backing down.
No, he has not. He has not backed down at all. He has told them that, listen, here's the deal. For every time you ask a passenger, it's going to be a $5,000 fine. The cruise industry is, they're saying this. Well, I'm sorry, we have CDC information, and we already know from what we talked about earlier that CD information is clouded. We know that the CD information is outdated. We know that CDC information is based on political science and not just the science alone.
Well, but we also know it's not a mandate.
Correct. Correct.
So they have a mandate from the governor of Florida. They better follow it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to see, listen, the cruise lines are doing the wishy-washy thing. And I get this. Listen, they're going to have to pull out of here, and they're going to have to go to other countries or states that are going to require vaccination passports. And the governor has told them, listen, we're your home ports. And if you don't like it, get out. Yeah. And that's what's going on. He's working to take it back. The cruise industries in this state already get billions and billions of dollars of tax breaks.
Yep.
Listen, perhaps you didn't know this. All of the cruise ships that you see in Florida ports and other ports around this country are all flagged somewhere else, whether it's in the Bahamas or down in Central America, so they can get those tax breaks. We all know damn well that they're manned by American ports and maintained in American ports and in and out of American ports, but they've been getting by long enough. And this is the governor holding their feet to the fire. You want to come here? You want to come to our state? Or you're going to play ball with us? Or we're going to stick the bat somewhere. It doesn't make you feel so well. So,
guys, man, we got to get someone to do a cartoon for Captain Florida.
Yeah, he's a great governor, Hal. I'll tell you what.
You're my hero.
I want to see him, run for president, but I don't want to lose him in Florida either. I wonder if he could be president of Florida and the president of the United States. So
no, nice try though.
Craig, you got a story here that you brought to our attention. Let's bring this one up. Strict gun laws, do they prevent violence? Now, again, we're talking about CDC here, and we know their issues. But what's the juxtaposition of this story here, Craig? Do you believe that stricter gun laws prevent gun violence?
No, I do not believe that stricter gun laws prevent gun violence. In fact, in this particular story, and I'm kind of mad that I have the wrong line set up there. But anyway, so what happened was I got a call from the San Francisco Chronicle, and this is a guy who I've been going back and forth, a reporter from the Chronicle there. Oh God, I want to say the last 6-7 years, and he's always been really good about including my information when we talk, and I talk to him a lot on background on stuff. And in this particular case, he's like, okay, this is just kind of obvious. Look, there's another shooting. Obviously, we need more gun laws, right? And I'm like, well, no, think about it. Dating back to the 1990s, when crime started to really go down, there were two things there's one thing in particular that happened then. And that was, we actually started instituting laws that actually went after criminals and put criminals behind bars, things like mandatory minimums, things that made sure that we went after criminals, right? The federal crime bill, we put more cops on the streets, right? And crime went down steadily until about the beginning to mid 2010s, right? And so then what started to happen was we started to see crime go up about 2014, 2015. In particular, here in California, we started to see crime go up. Well, what happened? Well, during that time, we actually saw an increase in gun control laws in California. But here's what happened. So in other words, more gun control did not equal less crime, did not equal less violent crime. What happened was we started passing laws that was decriminalizing crime, that was taking people who were convicted of crimes and putting them out on the streets. And then we started to see crime go up. Well, especially leading into and right, especially because of COVID, and then after George Floyd, we started seeing states all over the country, once again, decriminalizing crime and putting criminals out on the street. And then all of a sudden we saw a national increase in crime and in violent crime, in particular in murders. And so what I noted in this particular article as I spoke to him was, look, the problem is this. It's not a gun problem. Guns have been a part of this nation since its founding. It's not a gun problem. It's a violence problem, because all of a sudden it's now that we seem to have people who feel like they're either dealing with mental issues, or they're angry, they're frustrated, they feel picked on, whatever it is. And for some reason, they feel a need to inflict violence upon other people in order to alleviate or deal with and address those issues. And their weapon of choice happens to be guns. Now, if guns don't exist, if there's no guns, guess what? They're going to find another way to do this. And that was my point. That was my point in this particular article. And I thought he did a pretty good job of expressing my points.
I think he did rather well. I'm going to point out the Valley Transit Authority shooting in the past week out there in San Diego area. He was carrying two handguns. It looks like two handguns that were perfectly legal to carry. Looked like he legally obtained them. They had compliant magazines. He had everything that looked like he had done by the book. So all the forms of gun control that they attempted to place onto him, none of it was able to stop him. What they did find, and what they continue to find, is that he had mental health issues, anger management issues. He'd already been contacted by federal authorities, by county authorities, and nobody did anything to block him from firearms ownership or possession. To say, now again, we're all for due process. If you think there's a reason for somebody not to have a firearm, take them to get the treatment. Don't take the firearms away.
Right? Why did and nowhere in this did I hear anything about them trying to get him counseling?
No.
Them trying to get him some sort of help. Because clearly he was having issues, right?
Yep.
Why not get him some help and focus on trying to get him some help? Instead, they did nothing. And what happened. Yep.
Exactly right. That's the same case over and over again. How we see this every time. Some variables will change, but it's always comes down to why didn't we do anything with this guy? We knew ahead of time. Why didn't we do anything with this guy?
But it's not just that. I mean, a lot of these shootings, when we call them mass shootings or mass casualties involving firearms, a lot of them are either gang or drug related. Well, the issue, once again, still isn't the gun. The issue is gangs. The issue is drugs. And dealing with the criminal element around those things. I mean, ultimately, it's a people thing. It's a violence thing, not a gun thing.
Agreed, 100%. And we keep talking and we keep beating it into you folks. We need you to say it to everybody else also. We need you to tell your local politicians from down there at the city level, county level, into the state and federal level. You need to let them know that this is not about the guns. This is about violence. This is about hate. This is about mental illness. And we need to get our controls back on those items like we used to have. We really did. But now there's no such thing as a state hospital anymore.
Nope. Sorry. Nope. Well, you also, though, had more people. You also, I think, more people were plugged into one family. You know, you had more intact families then.
Yeah.
You also had more people who attended a place of worship on a regular basis. Once again,
Very true.
another place where you can go in order to have that, as the left likes to say, that village that can help be there for people. But once again, as we push people away from organizations of faith and we push people away from the traditional family, you start to see that, well, it's not a real positive thing.
Yep, absolutely correct. Let's jump over, speaking not of positive things, to LeBron James again. This guy just can't help but get in the news. You know, it's not good enough that I guess he's a decent basketball player, but that he wants to continue to stick his nose everywhere it doesn't need to be. Well, I guess that wasn't even enough for him. Now his agent has voiced his opinion, and the agent's name was Rich Paul. Rich Paul says that listen, when you have white athletes, they want white agents, and I'm not sure where he's going with the story, Craig. When you read through the story, it's not even like he's trying to hide his racism in here.
Well, no, and it's, the fact is so here's an agent. You have an NBA agent who's black, who is LeBron James's agent, who, let's be honest, he's probably a successful agent because he's LeBron James's agent.
Yeah.
But in the end, everything I've read about Rich Paul is he's not a real nice guy. In fact, he's probably a little bit of a jerk, or a lot of a jerk. Which, if players don't want to have a jerk as their agent, well, then I can completely and 100% understand that. But here's a guy who flat out, no basis in reality or fact. My question, he says that, well, white players don't want a black agent. Well, my question is okay, so you say that, show me the proof.
Yeah.
Show me, seriously, show me the proof. Show me that there is evidence that black players don't want a white agent. Let me ask you this, Rich Paul, how many white players do you go after? And I'd like to ask the other black agents that are out there, how many players, white athletes, do you actually go after? Because if you don't go after them, then why would they come to you? I mean, you have to figure these guys have guys chasing them down. Why would they go after an agent, especially in some place? I hate to say this, in the NBA, unless you are like a mid-level to lower tier player, do you really need an agent? I mean, because a lot of these guys they're max players. What do you need an agent to negotiate your max player contract for?
Right. Yeah, this is clearly this guy's story. It sounded to me like I want more attention.
Mm-hmm.
I want to further the divide between the races.
Right.
That's nobody said LeBron's name in 8 or 9 minutes now, so I need to get it back out there.
I'm just tired of these rich, wealthy people. People who have a lot of power, people who are really wealthy, talk about how oppressed they are. I'm sorry, no, you're just not going to get me to believe it, Mr. Rich Paul. You're rich, so get over it. You're just going to have to be an oppressed millionaire. I don't know what to tell you.
I think it was George Carlin I heard say it, before he passed, was, listen, you're not oppressed. You live in a wonderful country with all kinds of opportunity. If you want oppressed, go look at the American Indian. When's the last time you saw two American Indians standing next to each other? That's oppressed.
Yes.
That's oppressed.
That is oppressed.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, sir.
Craig, let's round this out. Let's bring our parting shot picture up. Let me read this to the folks here. Nice little dig on LeBron because he can't keep his mouth shut. Let's see. Reporter asks MJ, the GOAT, Michael Jordan, if he thought the 90s Bulls could beat LeBron's Lakers. And MJ, of course, said yes. The reporter asked, well, by how much? Jordan said, well, I don't know, 2 or 3 points. The reporter said, man, why such a close game? And MJ said, well, most of us are almost 60 now. Listen, I don't want to get too much into how great Michael Jordan was. He was the greatest.
Yes.
And how LeBron is not. He's not. But MJ knew what he was, and he was the greatest. We knew that, and he wanted to promote basketball and unity through basketball, and bringing races together through basketball. And that's what he did. LeBron seems to be doing the exact opposite, trying to separate, people from this. On the flip side, listen, I don't know if this is a real story, okay, about MJ. And I'm a fan of his, obviously, but I can tell you this. If this question was asked to Michael Jordan, this would probably be the answer you got, because there's no way in his brain that he was thinking, well, if I took the old Lakers or the old Bulls towards the, he wasn't thinking that. You ask Michael Jordan if he can win something, he's thinking about now, right now. Exactly. And he probably did. He probably went through his head. All right, well, Kerr's doing this and Robin's doing that. And we're about 60, but yeah, we could probably take him by 2 or 3 points.
Right. and let's be clear. He didn't have to go and manufacture some team by getting free agents, some superstar free agents to come sign and play with him. He won because he was the leader of a team, and that team drafted and brought in players and had a bunch of role players and him. He was the clear leader. He wasn't someone who put together a team or manufactured championships the way LeBron did. He actually took what he had and helped to make it work. And quite frankly, the only reason they didn't win 7 in a row was because he took that year off. That's it. That's the only reason.
That's right. And I'd say if it wasn't for the baseball strike, they only would have won 3, because Michael Jordan was about to be promoted into the major leagues for the Chicago White Sox. The strike happened, and he refused to cross the picket lines and be a scab, because he's a big union guy, to make sure ball players got their rights. Otherwise, those last three champions wouldn't have been there. He'd have been playing in the major leagues baseball.
Yep. Exactly. So that there be the way it be.
Yep.
Anyway, folks, hey, that's going to be it for today's program. Want to remind you, Feedback Friday is coming up. That's where you guys are going to call in. You guys are going to give us your feedback on whatever topics we're talking about. And then the person who's the best at giving us their feedback, where they're going to get something for free. They're going to get, what are they going to get again, Mike?
They're going to get 100% aluminum upper receiver and an 80% aluminum paperweight at this point. Paperweight.
Digging it. Okay, folks. Hey, well, once again, that's going to be it for this edition of The Rundown. We very much appreciate you tuning in, liking, sharing, and please make sure you subscribe on both Facebook and YouTube. Do so and encourage your friends to do the same.
Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow on the Hump Day.
Hump Day. Mike.